Hello, all, and welcome to yet another episode of Leader's Voice. The Leader's Voice actually came about uh, a few months ago when I kept coaching clients, and when I came to know that everybody is chasing leadership, they're chasing a goal, but nobody really seems to understand the energy behind what they're chasing. I stand for energy driven leadership. What does that mean? It means, it's the hypothesis that inner energy leads to performance mastery. And in that pursuit, I reached out to leaders out there, professionals, entrepreneurs, and more, who really live this in their life. And today we have one such guest here. I would call Jacintha an energy driven leadership ambassador. Welcome, Jacintha.
Thank you, Deepa. Thank you so much.
Love that smile. So, to introduce Jacintha Jayachandran, a person deeply inspired by the Tamil poet Bharatiyar, Mahatma Gandhi, Savitribai Phule, and Mother Teresa. Currently, she has what is known as a portfolio career, spanning across entrepreneurship, social impact, advisory, consulting, and coaching. She started her career as an HR professional and traversed across some amazing organizations, including HP, Infosys Technologies, and OnMobile Global. In her 15 years of work experience, she grew from an HR coordinator to head HR, a journey that she says she loved. Her next stint was that of a founder and entrepreneur, running, shaping, dreaming, and eventually handing it over to an organization earlier known as Transcendix. She sums up her 30 years of professional life as 15 years of employeeship and 15 years of entrepreneurship, and concurrently managing HopeWorks Foundation for the last 4 years. I met her actually while volunteering for HopeWorks Foundation. So, HopeWorks Foundation is a social impact organization which envisions to make every girl child think, feel, believe, and live equal. The mission is to enable 1 million girls to march into college and be employed by 2030. Along with a network of generous people across the globe who volunteer with hope, they hope to make hope a universal calling card and HopeWorks a movement that will outlive all those who founded it. Jacintha says, being at peace is not the outcome of a life lived well. It is actually the fountainhead and cause of living life well. Beautiful. So deep and profound, Jacintha.
Thank you. Thank you.
Public speaking, writing, and listening are three practices of mastery that she pursues. Personally, I invited her on this series because I feel inspired by her being, her work, and her calling. Thank you once again being here.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. And just to speak to you, that's such a pleasure. Thank you, Deepa.
Thank you. So, so I always believed in energy driven leadership, but till now I couldn't coin this name. you know but I knew from my personal life that when I never focused on my thoughts, emotions, feelings, and just was focused on outcomes and the doing part, I reached a point and I failed. And that's when I had to really slow down, pause, come back, sometimes reverse gear, because maybe the path I had chosen was not correct for me and my calling or my purpose. So, what's your experience been, in your life about inner mastery and focusing on your inner to drive leadership outcomes?
Deepa, I think this is probably the best phase in which I think I can both reflect upon and be, I think, so totally truthful to my own realities and journeys and be where I am, right? So I divide my life into sort of 4, 5 phases, right? That also tells you how old I am. So the 0 to 10 years, right? In so many ways, you're just you're just trying to figure out who you are, your space in the, in your family. Also, I think you start developing a strong sense of identity. Like my sense of identity was that I was a high performer in school. I loved people clapping for me when I got the first rank. And I grew up in a very, very safe environment. I had lovely parents and I had a very large family. So the social network was so strong and beautiful, right? I think the second phase, which is the 10 to 20, was the phase you're also still trying to figure out how much you can push this identity, right? Is this your real identity? And what are you, kind of stuff, with all the angst of becoming a preteen, teen, adolescent, and an adult. And I think, again, my driving force was, once again, I think this need to be somebody who's always high performing. Yeah. I think I carried that into the third phase, which is the 20 to 30, when you are married and you have a child. You are once again going into that phase, and I think at that point in time you start struggling a little bit more, because in marriage and motherhood there is no such thing as high performance, though you put so much stress on yourself, right? Because
Correct.
in school and college you could get your marks, you can do all of that, you can do that at work. But I think in being a spouse, a daughter-in-law, a mother, there is no certificate, there is no clapping around. And I think suddenly, I didn't realize it then, but when I reflect back now, I think you suddenly start wondering what's your place, right?
Yeah.
And the person, the way I am and I was, I think I wired myself to do more, right?
Mm.
I had to do everything to please everybody, because this need for being a high performer was the driving force, right? And then came the 30s to 40s, and I think the same struggle actually gets amplified, because you're working with a or you're living with a child who is becoming a teenager, preteen, and that whole phase. In your marriage you're at a phase where both of you are, I think, evolving into two different beings, because I think your hormones, your stage of life, your career, everything plays a part. My husband's not the same man that I fell in love with, though I love him more today than I did probably when I got married to him 29 years
He
ago.
must listen to this.
You're going through that phase, right? And you're constantly thinking, who am I and who is he, and what's the context of our life. And I think um, the 30s to 40s in that sense can be very, very high pressure, especially if you're also a career woman trying to run your life, by juggling so many priorities. And I think the 40, 50 is the time, if you could really spend time with yourself, right? You discover your personality, your personhood, and who you are. But I think you need to spend that time. And I think I spent that time not out of choice, but because I hit upon certain things, right?
Yeah.
Like I told you, I was an entrepreneur, and I realized I was not having the energy to do this more and more completely the way I wanted to do it. I think the second thing was, I was always driven, I think, to see a magical change in somebody's life, you know.
Mm.
And I think that means that I had to give myself the time and scope to do it. And I wasn't doing it. Yeah, running a company, of course, gives you that joy, but it's not transformative of someone else's life who you feel deeply connected to. And I wanted to do that shift because I was recognizing that, right? And I think that when I was around 47, I think the discovery started coming that, hey, you know what? While you're doing all of this, maybe your calling is something else. And I really had to talk to myself and say, what is my calling, right? And I think 47, and I just quickly made those shifts, which at one point in time looked like very difficult, right? Oh my God, can I give up the company that I have built to somebody else and just move on? Will people consider me to be some kind of a failure in entrepreneurship? Will this happen? Will that happen? Frankly, one night when I was just thinking about it, I said, who cares? Really, just who cares? you have to be truthful to your calling, and that's what matters, and nothing else does. And I think the day I did that shift, Deepa, dramatically things fell in place. I'm suddenly in schools, and I'm sitting and talking to young kids, and you're learning so much, and you realize this is what you probably wanted to do, but you found multiple paths that you had to traverse. And I think it's
Yes.
great to traverse through those paths, and then reach the place where I know I am in almost full bloom. And remember, physically also for women, right? The first period starting, marriage, motherhood, and perimenopause and menopause, all of that is also a parallel journey that's happening with your body and mind and hormones. And I think we rarely give it the time, the thought, the respect it deserves, right?
Yeah.
Marriage is all about, yeah, making a marriage work in every which way, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally. And because motherhood is all about giving your body off to, a lot of experiences which you're doing for the first time, right? I mean, in fact, the how dramatically the shape of the body changes, and I don't
Yeah.
think we even talk about it, right? I remember coming out after my surgery, I had a C-section, and standing up for the first time, and I'm realizing my tummy is so loose. I've never seen
Yeah.
it like that before. And you really felt like this is so out of control kind of stuff, right? And nobody really talks to you about it.
Yeah.
They only talk about how many times you have to feed the child and how you have to
Yeah.
burp the child, and
Yeah.
all of that stuff. And all of this you sort of discover for yourself. You live with it, you learn, and you grow. And I think, and the perimenopause menopause phase, I think at least now there's some conversation about it, but I think it is just meant like another phase of life. It is not,
Mm.
right? You actually change so dramatically. For me, all of these things, I think the person that I was, what I had looked forward to in life, and how I see myself, my physical, sort of changes, the stage of marriage, life stage, motherhood, and of course my professional life. And I've told you I've had an uninterrupted 30-year career in some
Yeah.
ways. All of it has brought me to this place where I know what is my driving force, and this is how I explain it, right? Um, I sat for about 4 or 5 hours, Deepa, one day, and I said, "What has made me truly happy from the earliest part of my memory, right?" And I discovered two things.
Wow.
One is I spent a lot of time with my grandfather. He was the person I spent most time with, right? And he was a very, very spiritual person. And I think a large part of that got into my system. Okay. In fact, he would take me in a cycle to my nursery school, and we would pray together as we rode the cycle. I'll be sitting in the front, and we'll pray together. And then it was always he was a very, very spiritual person, and I think a lot of it has been imbibed by me. And then the second thing I realized was right from childhood, I think when I was in school, I would go running to the meal program where we served food for the poor children who were in our school. All of us were poor. By the way, there were more, right? And I don't usually like to use the word poor because
Poor.
they are
Yeah.
just economically under-resourced, right? But I would go running to do that, and nobody else did it. But I just did it because I
Mm.
just felt like, yeah, there's some meaning in doing this, even when I was in like maybe third standard, right? Evenings I would go to serve the milk that we would give the girls, because that was the thing that the school would give the children, a glass of milk in the evening when they go, and a meal,
Mm.
mostly broken wheat dalia upma types that would get served with some veggies for the children. And then sometimes my sister and I would walk a long distance to come to the bus stop, and we would cross this home for the aged. And I would find all the old men standing and holding on to those,
Yeah.
you have the
Railings.
little, yeah, railings, and I will touch their hands because I was very excited to sort of do. There'll be one man who'll give you one very sticky sweet in your hand. But I loved it. I loved the idea of touching them and holding. And you always felt, now when I look back, I realize it was almost an instant connect with the old people who were probably lonely, etc. But it was just beautiful to touch their hands and hold it and walk, etc. And it just fitted into my head, I think, to give space for guilt-free spiritualism in my life, right?
Mm.
And I think the second thing was I love working with the most vulnerable. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. And I think today I'm in that space, and that is where I think the energy comes. In fact, yesterday I was on a call with one of the organizations with which I consult, and one of the managers said, Jacintha, what is this magic? Where do you get the energy to do this? How do you? And then I was sitting back and I was thinking, yeah, it doesn't come. There's no source supplying it but within. And the within for me is these two, right?
Mm.
I don't really now force myself to say the ritualistic prayers, but I know when I wake up, I'm communicating. I'm sure you're in the perimenopause, menopause phase. Your sleep disturbances are quite a bit. You wake up in the middle of the night suddenly, and you're just. And my job is to just lie down and say, hey, buddy, you're there.
Uh-huh.
Right now unable to sleep, so help me to go back to sleep, something like that, and then you move on, right? So you don't have to load your life with activities to feel productive, to feel successful, to any of those things. I think you have to sort of give space for the most meaningful things to occupy your time, energy, and I think then you're in full flow, and that's, I think, how I've discovered where I am right now, and very happy to be where I am right now. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. And from all of this, one thing that the energy when you were speaking, you said that I know my driving force, and these are the two driving forces.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you fill your day with these,
Yeah.
in a way that makes sense to you today,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
that's where the energy comes from for you, and that
Correct.
drives your actions out in
Absolutely.
the world.
Absolutely, Deepa. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
beautiful. Now I understand why I'm inspired.
Yeah. I'm grateful.
Because this is a very common thing for me, because when I really look back on my life, for a large period of time, maybe 30, still till about 0 to 37, I've been floating. I never knew the purpose. There were no goals. I only had comparison. I would compare and others would also compare me. So never felt good enough. 37, when I had the courage to leave my employment and ask myself, so now what? No answers came. But I think it took me so many years after that to really say, now what?
Yeah.
And I stand now for that. So when I occupy my day with all aspects of that, and for me, looking at the energy, and you talked about body, for me, energy is multifold.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
coming also from the text, from the spiritual text, because spirituality is very deep for me. So the Taittiriya Upanishad, when I was 18, I was introduced to it because I was volunteering for Chinmaya mission. Like in that time, I didn't understand, but very many years later, I understood that the human being are layers. They
Yeah.
are the body, they are the vital energy force, they are the emotions, the thoughts, and the bliss body, they call it, which I've converted into purpose.
Correct. Correct.
Why? What is the meaning of my life, and what is my core existence? Who am I in the core of my being? So this is all I stand for and inquire. So body may be tired, but the spirit never gets tired.
Yes.
There are
Yes.
times my body gets tired, and
Yes.
I do get
Yes.
tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm able to distinguish this, and when I hear you, you're almost saying the same in essence,
Yeah.
in a different, in your way, in
Yeah.
Jacintha's way.
Yeah. 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 You're right, Deepa. You're right. You're right.
This is just so beautiful. And that's why I feel and believe that uh, paying attention to our energy and various aspects of it is so important.
Yep.
One
Yep.
being the body. So, I've seen so many people out there in the organization, and you consult and coach in real organizations.
Yeah.
So, Have you also experienced where people say, I don't have time to sleep, I can't take care, kal ko ye submission hai, ye assignment hai, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I mean, I don't have time. There's this paucity that's expressed.
So this is my way of looking at it, right? I think we have been made to believe that we have to be blind to ourselves and viewing others, right? And in so many ways, I think disrespectful and dead to ourselves, but be respectful and alive to others. It's a strange conundrum, that you are actually, like if you spend time planning your meal, it looks like you have too much time, too much luck, and too much whatever that you have time to do all of these things, right? And borders on saying, you're therefore you're probably very privileged, and therefore you are. There was a time when I think you would listen to this, and therefore make everything. Life has to be in a hurry if you have to sort of do everything. Today, I wake up at 5, but I don't get out of the bed till I feel I'm ready to, right? Uh, but earlier, I would run out because you somehow wanted to know that you are busy from the beginning till the end of that night light going off like that, and you're ready to sleep. I think the idea, therefore, is that you're going to say, live it by your timelines, respect what you're doing. Yeah. But most importantly, respect your being. So I know sometimes in the afternoon, you just want to lie down for, say, 10-15 minutes. And I wouldn't give myself, because how can you do this during, like, it's not on. Now I'm encouraging offices to permit people to have a snooze. It's okay if that's what they want to do, because when your eyes are shutting down, your mind is shutting down too, and it's saying, I really need this time to rest. I think somewhere, Deepa, we've been socialized that my day has to be packed. My activities sort of define me. My speed defines me. And one of the biggest things that I have discovered is that when you're actually in that state of, say, peace and calm and knowing where you're going, you actually do your work so much faster.
Yes, far more productive
You're
actually.
far more productive. You get so
Yes,
much more done because you're
ideas.
not now allocating time for it. You're allocating energy for it. And when your energy is in, at its optimal,
It's in a
right?
flow.
And you're finishing it. You're saying,
Yes,
okay, this and this and this, and you're moving on. You're not saying, oh my God, in 2 hours I had to complete this, but I haven't been able to sort of complete that. And
yes.
in one of the things that I do with my leadership sessions for women especially, right? I say prioritization is not about time. Prioritization is about energy and people. And in the people, you have to include yourself, right?
Yes.
How do you optimize your energy to address the needs of all the people? And the front row is for yourself, right? How do you do that? Right? And if you're merely putting tasks against time, well, that's one way to look at it. The way I organize my own life right now is my mother needs me, right? Of course, a lot of people around me who need me, Deepa, but I think my mother, going through what she's going through at her age, needs me more than probably anybody else. So, morning, at least 45 minutes to an hour with her. Yeah. Especially when I'm not traveling. Evenings, I spend like half an hour with her, Deepa, and I can't tell you the joy it gives me. I lie down on her bed along with her. Then I try to box with her and pummel with her. And suddenly I think, one, the child in me is coming out. And I think there is a child in my mother who's never been given the permission to express herself. So, even the staff members in my house, my husband, everyone laughs at me when we have these little boxing matches and this and that. But I can't tell you how happy I am after that. Maybe 15 minutes, sometimes it's half an hour, sometimes it's a little longer, sometimes it's much shorter. I can't tell you how happy it is to just spend that time. Like today morning, I was sitting and talking to her, and we were talking everything random. And then she said, you know, now I'll go to my room. Earlier, I would feel guilty, like, I'm not, now because I have to get onto this call kind of stuff. I didn't tell her anything. Of course, there was a meeting up coming up for me. But even before that, she said, I have to go to my room. And I said, okay, you go to your room. I'll go up to do my work. She says, yeah, yeah, you have to do your work, right? I think that is the beauty of the whole thing. You spend your energy on the people who matter to you the most in ways that are best possible, right? Given the context of your life.
Yes,
Like
yes.
today, that time with my mother, like a 5-minute conversation with my husband and a 10-minute conversation with my son. I have the fuel needed to,
Beautiful.
you know,
Beautiful.
I'm okay. I have the rest of the things I can run with. That's the way to do this, because
Yes.
you can add 100 more tasks to your day. But if you have filled up the fuel tank in the day by doing things with the people whom you love and who love you, I think that's tank full. You're ready to
Yes.
run with it. I think very often we don't fill up the tank in the morning.
Yes.
We think having
Yes.
breakfast is filling up that tank. I'm saying it is not. Prioritize filling up that tank by time with experiences with, I greet my mom with happy good morning, and she starts laughing. Okay, tell her, no, you have to tell me back happy good morning. And she's like, okay, happy good morning, because given her age and where she is, she's always thinking, what on earth, good morning is just a good morning. So when I tell her, no, it's a happy good morning, suddenly in my house everybody's saying happy good morning to each other, and I'm saying, yeah, you just feel something, a little spark in your life in the morning, when you hear everybody sounding happy, right? And just greeting each other. So prioritize what's important. But much before that, prioritize who is important. And in the who, ensure you are there
You are
too.
there. Yes.
You are there in the front row, because I think otherwise you're just exhausted, you're tired, and you really can't do the best you want to do.
Yeah.
Even for the people whom you love and you want to
Yeah.
do best for, you can't
Yeah.
do it. It's just simple.
Absolutely. Oh my God. I mean, such a deep resonance. So you're actually, what you're saying, Jacintha, is that give yourself the permission to be happy,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
don't go by the stereotypes of pleasing somebody.
yeah, yeah.
This is seldom done because we are taught that we exist for somebody, or we have to serve them, or even back as an employee.
Yeah.
I need to finish my KRAs or fulfill my KRAs. Who cares about me?
Yeah.
And this, for the last 11, 12 years, when I've been an active therapist and then an active coach, the image that comes to me about self and others is a lemon skate,
Yeah.
an infinity symbol. So the on one hand is the self and the other hand is the others. And most often when a client comes, it's always skewed, but skewed to the other side, never
Definitely.
to the self. And with the process of conversations, etc., thoda bahut, you come that side. But when you have to actually prioritize, when you have to really prioritize, you lean to others because it's like the dog's tail, always crooked.
It is. It is.
So habits die so hard, and which is the reason why rhythms, the fueling up or filling up my tank rhythms plays such an important role.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
what you do every day is what is going to happen when you have a severe breakdown.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't resort to these practices when you have a breakdown. You need to
Yes.
have them handy.
Yeah.
So you shared so beautifully some of the practices, and what we do in the morning hours, like you said, is so important. What experiences you're meeting? That's what you said. What
Yeah.
people, what experiences, and sometimes not meeting people also. Just reading up from a book or doing your practice or watching nature, and so many other practices are possible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Chanting, praying, everything is possible. But resorting to those rhythmic practices every day, come what may,
Correct.
that's what filling up the tank means. And
Yes.
not fill up the day with tasks,
Yeah. Yeah.
fill up the day with energy,
Yeah.
so that even if there is an energy leak,
Yeah.
you have something to fall back on.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And some of the days are not going to go as
Yeah,
well as you planned it to
yeah,
be,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you can quickly come back.
Yes.
Say after
That,
3 days of not being able to do it, fourth day you're back.
yeah.
If you have built meaningful practices
Yes.
which fuel you up,
Yes.
not just for the day ahead, but really for a happy day ahead,
Yes.
for you looking at what you can accomplish in that day kind of stuff. I think,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. So literally time constraint is a myth.
yep,
Yeah. But
yeah,
it's about what you choose and
yes,
for what and for whom you choose
yep,
that.
yeah, yeah. And I think there's a lot of personal leadership there, right?
Yes.
If I'm still having a set of tasks over a period of say 3 days which I haven't done, it only tells me that task is not important.
Yeah.
Either I don't have to do it or I have to find somebody else to do it. And that's why, you have to look at where you are putting your time, not what you're putting against your time, right? So in all our task lists, I think there are places where we genuinely feel, hey, I haven't done this for 3 days. Maybe it's not so important. Yeah. Hand it over to somebody else and get it done. If it is really critical, then I think you would have done it. You would have somehow found the time to do it. It's
Yeah.
not like you won't. If it's truly, truly important, you
Yeah.
will do it. So
Yeah.
I think that is the place where personal leadership comes into place.
Yeah.
Like, let me give an example, right? So I don't cook every day, though I love cooking. I think it's such a such a beautiful little activity that I enjoy doing. But I don't, because at one point in time in my life I realized that there were so many other more beautiful things for me to do, right? Like nobody can sit and talk to my mother in the morning. I can't outsource that, okay? Because that bond can only be with me. But my mom is okay if the food is reasonably tasty. Yeah. And if you're giving her what she likes, she's okay. Right. But nobody can do what I do with her in the morning. That is what you have to focus on. That's what I mean. So I'm happy to delegate the cooking thing. Right. And if somebody tells me, oh, you don't cook, I'm not going to wallow in self that, I'm going to say, yes, I don't. Right. I don't. I've said no to cooking, except on special days, special occasions, for special people. Like my husband falls sick, I'm going to be in the kitchen making his favorite rasam. Okay. I know that day I'm not going to delegate it to anybody. I'm going to do it. Or if I'm going to spend some time with my son, I'm going to take time out to make sure that I cook his favorite food. Because that's not about cooking food, it's about expressing my love and affection for
Yeah.
them,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Everyday cooking is
Yeah.
okay, an expression of who you are, but I
Yes.
think that can be outsourced, because
Very
after a
true.
point in time it's just so much happening, so much
Yeah.
food being
Yeah.
cooked.
Correct.
But if I can spend that time, that half an hour in the morning, um, just sitting and talking to my mom, um, I find it so invigorating.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so, so
So,
invigorating.
so
You know.
identifying what gives you energy is so critical,
Yes.
and
Yes.
what drains you is equally critical.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's so important. So, I've been trying, I've done Pilates, I've done running, I've done a lot of walking, I've done yoga, I've done, you know, and again, these are conversations I have with myself, right? But I think the best form of exercise for me is probably going to be Zumba and dance. You know why? Because that's what I've loved doing as a child. I love, the minute music starts playing, I'll start dancing. If you come to my family functions, everybody will be saying, just come on, go dance, because they've seen me do that from childhood. And I said, yeah, think this is what I want to do. But a lot of people might
Right.
say, hey, you know what, run, it's a good exercise, do that, that's a good exercise. Yeah, but I know what exercise is good for me,
Me.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I know it is dance. So I'm actually looking out for somebody who will make me practice dance, like like an exercise. So maybe I should sign up for a Zumba class or I do something else
Mm-hmm.
because I know I'm my happiest when I'm feeling my body move to a rhythm, of music. That is my happy space.
Beautiful.
So we've all been given those patterns very early in life, Deepa. It's just that we forget those patterns because we have to grow up. And we have to become adults. We have to become serious. We have to be interesting to others. I don't made us truly happy as people, as children. And I think a lot of answers are uh, going back to looking at all those memories which made you so happy in life. Like I'm a physically very strong person in terms of attaching myself. I like my hugs. I like all of that. And how I realized that one of the happiest memories when I wrote down was I came down from a train after a summer vacation with my grandmother, and I got on from the train and I saw my dad standing like that.
Ah,
And I remember running into his hands. And I can tell you, I miss those hugs, right? And so every Sunday when I'm with my girls in HopeWorks Foundation, I'm saying, come, please hug me. It's not so much me giving the hugs. It's like, please come and hug me. And so today kids realize that, I want to hug her and she wants to hug me back. Deepa, it's great. You discover these little things about you, right? You're so if people ask me, so you work on a Sunday also? It doesn't feel like work because I'm
work.
hugging people and people are hugging me. And I'm happy to spend 3 hours, 4 hours on a Sunday just doing that because I think it releases whatever oxytocin, this, that, whatever in your body. You're in such a happy state when you come back and it doesn't feel like work, right? So that's what I'm saying. Give yourselves those moments every day when I think that happy child in you is nourished. I think we all need to spend that time going back and saying, what's made me truly happy as a child, as I was growing up, and find those sweet spots.
Mm-mm. Wow. Yeah, I think we made it very simple
Yeah.
for people to, yeah, to fall back on because memories are always there. It's just
Yes.
that we need to give that 5, 10 minutes to
Yep.
remember. And once we remember, that itself can fuel our tank. That
Yes.
itself is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So good. So
Yeah.
good. So we've almost come to the end, of this conversation. And what would be your last closing message to all those people who are listening to us?
Three things, right? And this is again discovering for myself, right? One is I was reading, I think it was Adam Grant who had put it out saying, no is a complete sentence.
Yes.
You don't have to explain it to anybody. You don't have to justify it to anybody. No is a complete sentence. Yeah. And it's okay to say that and to live that, put boundaries. I think those are important things. The second thing I think is, you know, absence of conflict is not peace. You know, you can be at conflict and still be at peace because I can disagree on certain things. The way we work, like today morning, we had a really big meeting in which all of us were saying, okay, this is not working. We've got to do this better, that better. It may not sound like a meeting where everybody was happy. People are getting feedback. People are saying, okay, what do we do better? You feel like, oh my God, but that doesn't feel very peaceful right now. No, I'm saying I'm absolutely at peace because brings me to the last part. You have to know what's your driving force and purpose, right? My driving force and purpose is mingled with the fact that I want to work with the most vulnerable. And the way we've designed and defined the driving force of the foundation is that last little girl in the universe who feels hopeless will feel hope because of you and me. If that is what I'm serving, right? That's whom we serve. That last little girl is the person we are serving. Then you know what? I should be okay to disagree with you on points that I think are important, and I should welcome your disagreement. You're completely at peace because you know what your purpose and driving force is. You're working towards that.
Yes.
You're inviting yourself and others into that. You're okay to therefore have differences of opinion, and you're still at peace. You're not getting agitated because of that. And behind all this, definitely is the place where you can say, hey, what doesn't align with that, right? What doesn't align with that? I'm okay to say no to that
Yeah, can go.
and let it go. And truly, you don't have to. You don't have to add more stuff into this. You just have to say, I'm okay, right? I was in a village on Saturday. They are the first, in some ways, residents of South India, tribes. And when I asked the women, come, let's hug, they almost felt hesitant because we're all sweaty, it's very hot. And they were just holding their hands like that. And they came and stood. But when you hugged them and just rubbed their back like that and said, you could see tears, Deepa. Yes. You, I don't think we give expression to our deep needs, right?
Yeah.
And to be hugged and to hug is such a simple need. I think all of us need it in our lives.
Yeah.
So much of it was given when we were
Yeah.
children,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And suddenly you grow up and you sort of miss all of that. My, if there's a fourth one that I can say, if you miss something, it really is telling you that you need it, right? Go back and make the connection. Of course, I can't get my dad's hugs anymore. He's not there. So I talked to him and I said, you know what, till we meet again, sort of a thing, and you're at peace, right? You got to go and make happiness your space. And I think you are going to be okay. I think that would be my submission. Yeah.
Whew, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacintha, for everything. Thank you for being here.
Thank,
And
thanks, Deepa.
thank you for being you, the
Thank
human
you.
being that you are. May you
Thank you.
touch many, many lives.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank
Bye.
you. See you.
Bye.